Imagine being dropped into the wilderness with nothing but the clothes on your back. No phone, no GPS, no modern survival gear. Most people would panic. They'd see certain death, but not our ancestors. For thousands of years, Native American tribes didn't just survive in some of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. They thrived. What if I told you that the survival techniques they perfected could save your life today? Techniques so powerful, so ingenious, that modern survival experts are still trying to understand them. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 10 Native American survival hacks that could mean the difference between life and death. Techniques that have been passed down through generations, but are on the verge of being forgotten forever. Before we dive deep, if you want to unlock the most incredible survival secrets that modern society has forgotten, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because these aren't just stories. These are life-changing survival strategies that could literally save your life. Water collection technique. Water isn't just a resource, it's life itself. And Native American tribes understood this better than anyone else on the planet. Most people today think finding water means carrying expensive filters or complicated equipment. But what if I told you our ancestors could find and purify water in environments where modern survival experts would give up? Let me introduce you to the first survival hack that could literally save your life: the Native American water collection technique. In the harshest environments, from scorching deserts to rocky mountain terrains, Native Americans developed methods to find water that seem almost magical. And I'm not talking about luck. This is pure generational wisdom passed down through centuries of survival. First, understanding landscape is crucial. Every terrain speaks a language, and water always leaves clues. In desert regions, tribes like the Navajo knew that vegetation is the first indicator of hidden water sources. A cluster of green plants, even in seemingly dry landscapes, almost always means water is nearby. Here's a technique that might shock you. Reading plant life. Cottonwood trees, willows, and certain types of cacti aren't just plants. They're water indicators. Their root systems are nature's own water detection system. A mature cottonwood doesn't just grow anywhere. It requires a consistent water source within 15 to 30 feet underground. But finding water is only half the battle. Purification is where true survival skill comes in. Native Americans didn't have modern filtration systems, yet they consistently produce safe drinking water. Their method? A combination of natural filtration and heat treatment that modern scientists still marvel at. The primary technique involved multiple layers of natural filtration. Sand, charcoal from specific hardwoods, and layered plant materials created a filtration system more effective than many modern portable filters. Charcoal in particular wasn't just a filter. It was a purification powerhouse that could remove bacteria, parasites, and even neutralize certain toxins. But here's the real survival hack: boiling. Not just boiling, but understanding exactly how long and at what intensity to boil water to kill harmful microorganisms. Most people don't realize that water doesn't need to be at a rolling boil for minutes. Native Americans knew that bringing water to a steady, hot temperature for just 3 to 5 minutes could make almost any water source drinkable. In desert environments, they would dig small, strategic holes during early morning or late evening. These holes would collect condensation, a technique that could produce up to a liter of water in dry conditions where modern survival guides would tell you water is impossible. Another mind-blowing technique: solar stills. Long before solar technology became a modern concept, Native American tribes were using black stones, animal skins, and strategic landscape positioning to create water collection systems that could extract moisture from seemingly dry ground. The most important lesson? Water collection isn't just a skill, it's a philosophy of understanding your environment, reading its subtle signs, and working with nature, not against it. These techniques aren't just survival tricks, they're a testament to human adaptability, to understanding that survival isn't about fighting the environment, it's about becoming part of it. Fire starting without matches. Fire isn't just warmth. Fire is survival. Fire is life. And the ability to create fire without matches or lighters? That's not a skill. It's pure human magic. Modern survival experts will tell you fire starting is complicated. Native Americans knew better. For them, creating fire was as natural as breathing. Let me break down a survival technique that has kept entire civilizations alive for thousands of years. Fire starting without a single match. The first thing you need to understand is that fire creation is about understanding materials at a level most people can't even imagine. It's not about strength, it's about knowledge. Friction is the heart of traditional fire starting, but not just random friction. Precise, calculated, almost mathematical friction. The most common method? The hand drill technique. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. This isn't just spinning a stick. This is a precise art form that requires understanding wood types, moisture content, and human mechanics. The wrong wood, the wrong pressure, the wrong angle, and you're left with nothing but tired arms and frustration. Native tribes like the Cherokee and Lakota developed specific wood combinations that made fire creation almost guaranteed. Cottonwood for the baseboard, cedar or yucca for the spindle. These weren't random choices, these were calculated decisions based on generations of survival knowledge. The hand drill technique requires three critical components: a flat baseboard, a straight spindle, and absolute consistency. You're essentially creating fire through pure human energy, converting mechanical motion into heat through precise friction. Here's something that will blow your mind. Some tribes could start a fire in under 2 minutes, not with fancy tools, not with modern technology, just pure human skill and understanding of natural materials. But friction isn't the only method. The bow drill technique took this skill to another level. By using a bow to rotate the spindle, you could generate more consistent heat with less personal fatigue. It's engineering before engineering existed. Tinder preparation is where true survival wisdom shows itself. It's not just about having dry materials, it's about understanding moisture, fiber structure, and combustibility. Certain tree barks, dried grasses, inner cottonwood bark, these weren't just materials, they were survival technologies. The Pueblo tribes had a fascinating technique involving a specific type of fungus found on juniper trees. This fungus, when properly prepared, could catch a spark so efficiently it made modern fire starters look primitive. But here's the real survival secret. It's not just about starting a fire. It's about starting a fire that will actually keep you alive. A fire that provides warmth, can be used for cooking, can signal for help, can keep predators away. Native Americans understood something modern survival guides forget. Fire is more than a tool. It's a living entity that requires respect, understanding, and precise skill. The most important lesson? Survival isn't about having the right equipment, it's about having the right knowledge. Knowledge that can't be bought. Knowledge that can only be learned through generations of survival. These fire-starting techniques aren't just survival skills. They're a profound understanding of how humans can work in absolute harmony with the natural world. Natural food preservation. Imagine surviving an entire winter without a refrigerator, without freezers, without modern preservation technology. Sounds impossible? Not for Native American tribes. Food preservation wasn't just a skill for these communities. It was the difference between survival and extinction. Most people today think food preservation means throwing something in a freezer or buying expensive vacuum sealers. Native Americans? They turned food preservation into an art form that would make modern nutritionists look like amateurs. Let's talk about preservation techniques that kept entire tribes alive through brutal winters and scorching summers. Techniques so advanced they're still studied by survival experts today. Drying was more than just hanging meat in the sun. It was a complex science of understanding airflow, humidity, temperature, and protein structure. The Plains tribes, particularly the Lakota and Cheyenne, developed meat preservation techniques that could keep protein edible for months, sometimes even years. Take buffalo meat. Most people would look at a buffalo and see a meal. Native Americans saw a survival package that could feed a community for months. Their preservation method? A combination of cutting meat into ultra-thin strips, using specific wind conditions, and applying natural preservatives. The key was something most modern preservation techniques completely miss. Salt wasn't just a flavor enhancer, it was a critical preservation mechanism. But not just any salt. Tribes would collect specific mineral salts from natural deposits, understanding their antimicrobial properties long before microbiology was even a concept. Smoking was another preservation technique that goes far beyond what most people understand. This wasn't just about adding flavor. This was about creating an environment where bacteria couldn't survive. Specific woods like hickory and maple weren't chosen randomly. They contained natural compounds that acted as preservatives. But here's something that will blow your mind. Some tribes could preserve meat for up to 2 years without any modern technology. 2 years. In conditions where modern meat would spoil in days. Fruits and vegetables weren't ignored either. The Southwest tribes, like the Pueblo, developed sun-drying techniques that could preserve fruits at nutritional levels that would make modern dehydration look primitive. Corn preservation was particularly fascinating. The process wasn't just about drying, it was about understanding humidity, wind patterns, and creating specific storage environments. Underground storage pits weren't just holes in the ground. They were sophisticated preservation chambers that could keep corn edible for months. Fermentation was another preservation technique that most people completely misunderstand. This wasn't just about making food last. This was about creating additional nutritional value. Tribes would ferment vegetables in ways that actually increased their nutritional content, something modern nutritionists are only now beginning to understand. The Iroquois had a preservation technique for beans that could keep them edible for years. Not months, years. They would dry beans, then store them in specific clay containers that regulated moisture and temperature with a precision that modern storage can't match. But here's the most important lesson. Preservation wasn't just about keeping food, it was about maintaining community survival. Every preservation technique was a collective effort. Every method was a piece of generational knowledge passed down, refined, perfected. These weren't just survival techniques. These were sophisticated food technologies developed through thousands of years of careful observation, trial, and survival. Modern preservation is about extending shelf life. Native American preservation was about ensuring community survival. Herbal medicine, before pharmaceutical companies, before modern hospitals, before prescription drugs. Native American tribes had something far more powerful, a comprehensive understanding of healing that modern medicine is only beginning to comprehend. Herbal medicine wasn't alternative treatment, it was the primary healthcare system, and it was far more sophisticated than most people could ever imagine. Let's shatter everything you think you know about traditional medicine. Every plant wasn't just a plant, it was a potential lifesaver, a pharmacy growing right out of the ground. Tribes didn't just use herbs, they understood the complex biochemical interactions happening within each leaf, root, and bark. Take willow bark. Modern science now knows it contains salicylic acid, the primary component in aspirin. But Native Americans weren't just randomly chewing bark. They understood precise preparation methods, dosage, and application that modern pharmacology is still trying to decode. Wound treatment wasn't about just stopping bleeding. It was a complex process of understanding infection prevention, cellular regeneration, and pain management. The Cherokee had wound treatment protocols that could heal injuries in ways that would make modern first aid look primitive. Echinacea wasn't just a supplement you buy at a health store. For tribes like the Plains Indians, it was a comprehensive immune system booster. They understood its antiviral and antibacterial properties centuries before microscopes existed. Pain management was an art form. The Navajo had a comprehensive understanding of pain that went beyond physical treatment. They recognized pain as a holistic experience, involving body, mind, and spirit. Their treatment wasn't about masking pain. It was about understanding and resolving its root cause. Yarrow wasn't just a plant. It was a miracle wound treatment. Native Americans would use it to stop bleeding, prevent infection, and accelerate healing. Modern medical research is still catching up to what these tribes knew generations ago. Elderberry wasn't a trendy supplement. It was a critical immune system defender. Tribes would prepare complex elderberry treatments that could fight off respiratory infections with a precision that modern antibiotics struggle to match. But here's something most people don't understand. Herbal medicine wasn't about individual treatment. It was a community healing approach. Every treatment was developed through generations of observation, trial, and collective knowledge. The most sophisticated aspect, understanding that healing isn't just physical. The mental and spiritual components of treatment were just as critical as the physical herbs used. Sage wasn't just for cooking, it was a powerful antimicrobial agent. Tribes would use sage smoke to purify environments, understanding its ability to reduce airborne bacteria long before germ theory existed. Golden seal was a comprehensive healing plant, used for everything from treating skin infections to supporting digestive health. But it wasn't about randomly consuming the plant. It was about understanding precise preparation methods, dosage, and individual body responses. The most important lesson? These weren't just medical treatments, these were sophisticated biological interventions developed through thousands of years of careful observation, trial, and survival. Modern medicine looks at the body as a machine. Native American herbal medicine saw the body as a complex, interconnected ecosystem, and their treatments reflected that profound understanding. This wasn't alternative medicine. This was the original medicine, the medicine that kept entire civilizations alive when modern medical technology didn't exist. Food foraging. Forget grocery stores. Forget supermarkets. Imagine walking through a landscape that most people see as empty and seeing an all-you-can-eat buffet that nature provides. Food foraging wasn't a hobby for Native American tribes. It was survival. And not just survival, it was an art form of understanding the landscape at a level that would make modern botanists look like amateurs. Most people today look at a forest or prairie and see trees and grass. Native Americans saw a living, breathing supermarket with more variety and nutrition than any modern grocery store could ever offer. Let's break down a survival skill that kept entire civilizations alive for thousands of years. Seasonal knowledge wasn't just important, it was everything. Tribes didn't just know where food grew, they understood the precise moment when each plant reached its nutritional peak. The difference between harvesting a root a week too early or too late could mean the difference between a nutritious meal and a worthless plant. Take the humble cattail. Most people see a marsh plant. Native Americans saw the ultimate survival food. Every single part of the cattail is edible. The roots, starch-rich and nutritious. The shoots, tender and packed with nutrients. The pollen, a protein powerhouse. The seeds, a critical food source during lean times. Mushroom foraging wasn't a trendy activity. It was a life-or-death skill. Tribes like the Cherokee developed an encyclopedic knowledge of fungal identification that modern mycologists still can't fully comprehend. They didn't just know which mushrooms were edible, they understood the complex ecosystem that produced them. Acorns weren't just tree nuts. They were a critical food source that required sophisticated processing. The Californian tribes developed leaching techniques that could transform bitter, toxic acorns into a nutritious flour. This wasn't just cooking, this was advanced food chemistry. Berries weren't just a sweet treat, they were survival medicine. The Plains tribes understood the precise nutritional windows of different berry species. Chokecherries, service berries, wild strawberries. Each had a specific harvesting window that maximized nutritional value. Roots were a survival staple that most modern foragers completely overlook. The Southwest tribes had an understanding of root vegetables that went far beyond simple harvesting. They understood soil conditions, root growth patterns, and precise harvesting techniques that could extract maximum nutrition. Wild onions and garlic weren't just flavoring, they were powerful medicinal plants. Tribes would use these plants not just for food, but for their antimicrobial properties. They understood the health benefits long before modern nutritional science existed. Nuts were a critical protein source, but it wasn't just about finding nuts. It was about understanding the entire ecosystem. The Iroquois developed nut harvesting techniques that included understanding squirrel behavior, tree growth patterns, and precise harvesting windows. Here's something that will blow your mind. Some tribes could identify over 200 edible plant species in their local environment. 200 species. Most modern humans would struggle to identify 20, but foraging wasn't just about finding food. It was about maintaining ecological balance. These weren't just hunters and gatherers. They were environmental stewards who understood that taking from nature meant respecting nature's cycles. The most important lesson: foraging isn't about finding food. It's about understanding the landscape so deeply that food becomes everywhere. Modern survival guides tell you what to eat. Native American foraging told you how to see the world as a living, breathing food source. Tool creation. Tools aren't just objects. They're extensions of human survival, and no civilization understood this better than Native American tribes. While modern society thinks innovation started with the Industrial Revolution, these tribes were engineering masters centuries before. Forget high-tech manufacturing. Forget precision machines. Native Americans created tools that could solve complex survival challenges using nothing but raw materials and human ingenuity. Tool creation wasn't a skill, it was survival poetry. Stone wasn't just rock, it was the foundation of technological innovation. Flint knapping, the art of creating sharp tools from stone, wasn't just a technique. It was a sophisticated engineering process that required understanding rock composition, fracture lines, and precise striking techniques. Arrowheads weren't just weapons. They were complex mathematical and engineering achievements. A perfect arrowhead required understanding aerodynamics, material strength, and hunting dynamics. Some tribes could create arrowheads so precise they could penetrate thick animal hide from incredible distances. Bone wasn't waste. It was a versatile, durable material that could be transformed into everything from fishing hooks to sophisticated cutting tools. The Plains tribes could turn a single buffalo bone into multiple tools, each with a specific, precise purpose. Woodworking wasn't about cutting. It was about understanding cellular structure. Tribes like the Northwest Coast nations could create canoes so precisely engineered they could navigate complex ocean currents. These weren't just boats. They were floating mathematical equations. Sinew and leather weren't just animal byproducts. They were high-performance binding materials. Native Americans understood tensile strength, flexibility, and durability at a level that modern material science is still trying to comprehend. Take the atlatl, a spear-throwing device that dramatically increased hunting range and power. This wasn't just a tool. It was a complex lever system that amplified human throwing power by understanding physics centuries before formal physics existed. Clay wasn't just mud. It was a sophisticated material for creating everything from cooking vessels to water storage containers. The Southwest tribes developed pottery techniques that could create watertight containers using nothing but local clay and precise firing techniques. Basketry was more than decoration. It was advanced engineering. Tribes could create baskets so tightly woven they could hold water. This wasn't craft. This was applied mathematics and material science. Antler and horn weren't just animal parts. They were high-performance materials that could be shaped into tools with incredible durability. The precision required to transform these materials into functional tools required an understanding of material properties that would make modern engineers impressed. Obsidian wasn't just a rock. It was the surgical steel of its time. Tribes could create cutting edges so sharp and precise that modern surgical tools look primitive in comparison. Some obsidian blades could create cuts so clean they were essentially molecular. But here's the most critical understanding. These tools weren't just about function, they were about complete resource utilization. Nothing was wasted. Every material had multiple potential uses. Tool creation wasn't about having the best equipment. It was about understanding your environment so deeply that you could transform any material into a survival solution. Modern technology gives us tools. Native American tool creation gave us survival art, weather prediction, orbit meteorology apps. Forget satellite imaging. Imagine predicting weather with such precision that your survival literally depended on reading nature's most subtle signals. Native American weather prediction wasn't a guess. It was a sophisticated science that modern technology is still struggling to match. Most people see clouds, wind, and animal behavior as random. Tribes saw them as a complex communication system that could predict everything from incoming storms to seasonal changes with breathtaking accuracy. Cloud formations weren't just atmospheric phenomena, they were a language. The Plains tribes could read cloud structures with such precision that they could predict rainfall patterns weeks in advance. Not hours, not days. Weeks. Take cirrus clouds. Those thin, wispy clouds high in the sky. For most people, they're just scenery. For Native American meteorologists, they were early warning systems for incoming weather systems. The direction, density, and movement of these clouds could signal storms developing hundreds of miles away. Wind wasn't just moving air. It was a messenger carrying critical survival information. Tribes understood wind patterns so deeply that they could distinguish between winds that promised rain and winds that signaled approaching drought. Each wind direction carried a story, a prediction, a survival strategy. Animal behavior was their most sophisticated weather prediction tool. Most people see an animal acting strangely. Native Americans saw a complex meteorological report. Beavers building higher dams, prepare for a harsh winter, birds flying lower than usual, incoming storm, increased animal movement before sunset, significant weather change approaching. These weren't superstitions. These were generations of carefully observed, scientifically precise environmental interactions. Insects weren't just insects. They were living barometers. Increased anthill activity could signal incoming rain. Specific bee behaviors could predict temperature changes. Grasshopper flight patterns could indicate upcoming drought conditions. Plant life was their most sophisticated weather prediction technology. The way certain trees shed leaves, how specific plants folded their leaves, the thickness of bark. These weren't random occurrences. They were precise meteorological indicators developed through thousands of years of observation. The moon wasn't just a celestial body. It was a complex weather prediction system. Different moon phases and colors could indicate upcoming weather patterns with an accuracy that would make modern meteorologists jealous. Sunset and sunrise colors weren't just beautiful, they were comprehensive weather forecasting tools. The specific shades of red, orange, and pink could predict weather patterns with a precision that modern radar sometimes fails to achieve. Humidity wasn't measured by instruments. It was read through the behavior of natural materials. How certain woods expanded, how grasses bent, how animal fur responded. These were their hygrometers. But here's the most critical understanding. Weather prediction wasn't just about survival. It was about living in harmony with the environment. It was about understanding that humans aren't separate from nature. We're a part of it. Modern weather prediction gives you a forecast. Native American weather prediction gave you a survival strategy. This wasn't just science. This was a profound understanding of the planet's most complex system, achieved without a single piece of modern technology. Energy conservation. Energy conservation wasn't a trendy concept for Native American tribes. It was the difference between survival and extinction. While modern society talks about saving energy, these tribes lived and breathed conservation at a level that would make modern environmentalists look like amateurs. Forget solar panels. Forget smart home technology. Imagine conserving energy with such precision that every single movement, every single resource was optimized for maximum survival efficiency. Movement wasn't just movement, it was a calculated energy equation. Walking wasn't about getting from point A to point B, it was a sophisticated biomechanical strategy. Tribes like the Apache developed walking techniques that could cover massive distances while expending minimal energy. Each step was a precise calculation of muscle use, terrain interaction, and respiratory efficiency. Clothing wasn't just protection, it was an advanced energy management system. The layering techniques developed by tribes like the Inuit weren't just about warmth. They were complex thermal regulation technologies that could maintain body temperature with a precision that modern outdoor gear struggles to match. Shelter design was pure energy conservation engineering. The Plains tribes' teepees weren't just homes, they were sophisticated thermal management systems. The conical shape, the specific material choices, the precise positioning, every single element was designed to minimize heat loss and maximize internal temperature regulation. Hunting wasn't about brute force, it was about energy optimization. Tribes would develop hunting strategies that minimize physical exertion while maximizing potential food return. A single hunt wasn't just about catching food, It was about calculating the exact energy expenditure against potential nutritional gain. Food preparation was an energy conservation masterclass. The way tribes would process and cook food wasn't just about taste, it was about extracting maximum nutritional value while expending minimal energy. Slow cooking techniques, specific fire management, precise cutting methods, every single step was an energy efficiency calculation. Rest wasn't laziness. It was a critical energy management strategy. Tribes understood that conservation wasn't just about physical movement. It was about understanding the body's energy cycles, knowing exactly when to exert and when to recover. Tool creation was pure energy efficiency. Every tool was designed to minimize energy expenditure while maximizing functionality. A single tool might serve multiple purposes, reducing the need to carry and manage multiple energy-consuming implements. Water collection wasn't just about finding water. It was about minimizing energy expenditure in the process. Tribes would develop collection methods that required minimal physical effort, understanding that water retrieval could be one of the most energy-intensive survival activities. Fire management was an energy conservation art form. The way tribes would build, maintain, and use fires wasn't just about warmth. It was about precise fuel management, understanding exactly how much energy would be required and how to extract maximum benefit from minimal resources. But here's the most critical understanding. Energy conservation wasn't just a survival technique. It was a philosophical approach to existence. It was about understanding that energy is a finite resource that must be respected, managed, and optimized. Modern society talks about saving energy. Native American tribes lived energy conservation as a survival art form. This wasn't just efficiency. This was survival poetry written in movement, in breath, in every calculated human action. Hunting techniques. Hunting wasn't a sport. It wasn't a hobby. For Native American tribes, hunting was a complex survival science that required more intelligence than any modern weapon could ever provide. Forget high-powered rifles. Forget advanced hunting gear. Imagine hunting with such precision, such understanding of animal behavior, that you could take down prey using nothing but your mind, your body, and a few carefully crafted tools. Tracking wasn't just following footprints. It was reading an entire environmental story written in the landscape. Every broken twig, every disturbed leaf, every subtle ground impression was a comprehensive communication system. Tribes like the Apache could reconstruct an entire animal's journey, its species, its size, its health, its direction, from microscopic environmental changes that most modern hunters would completely miss. Camouflage wasn't about wearing green clothing. It was about becoming invisible to the entire ecosystem. Hunters would understand wind direction, animal sensory capabilities, and landscape integration at a level that modern military camouflage techniques are still trying to comprehend. Silent movement wasn't a technique. It was a survival art form. Some tribes could move through dense forests with such precision that they could approach prey without creating a single detectable sound. This wasn't just about being quiet. This was about understanding how sound travels, how ground composition affects movement, how body weight distributes across different terrains. Animal psychology was their most sophisticated hunting weapon. Hunters didn't just know where animals would be. They understood animal behavior so deeply that they could predict movement patterns, stress responses, and potential escape routes with mathematical precision. The atlatl, a spear-throwing device, wasn't just a tool. It was an advanced biomechanical extension of human hunting capability. This device could increase throwing power and range by understanding precise lever mechanics centuries before formal physics existed. Hunting wasn't about killing, it was about complete resource utilization. Every single part of an animal had a purpose. Bones became tools, skin became clothing, organs became food. Nothing was wasted, nothing was disrespected. Seasonal hunting wasn't random, it was a complex ecological management strategy. Tribes understood animal breeding cycles, migration patterns, and environmental conditions so precisely that they could hunt without disrupting entire species populations. Collective hunting techniques transformed individual hunters into living, breathing strategic networks. Hunters would communicate through subtle hand signals, create complex driving techniques that would funnel prey into specific areas, and coordinate with a precision that modern military tactics would envy. Bait wasn't just about attracting animals, it was about understanding complex ecological interactions. The precise placement of bait, the specific materials used, the timing, these were sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques. Trapping wasn't about setting random snares, it was about understanding animal behavior so deeply that you could predict exactly how an animal would move, react, and respond to specific environmental stimuli. But here's the most critical understanding. Hunting wasn't about conquest, it was about survival. It was about maintaining a delicate balance with the environment. It was about respect. Modern hunting gives you a weapon. Native American hunting gave you a comprehensive understanding of life, death, and ecological balance. This wasn't just survival, this was a profound dialogue with nature itself. Clothing adaptation. Clothing wasn't protection, it was survival technology. While modern fashion talks about style, Native American tribes engineered wearable solutions that could keep you alive in environments where modern clothing would fail catastrophically. Forget high-tech outdoor gear. Forget designer labels. Imagine clothing so precisely engineered that it could transform your body's survival capabilities in the most extreme environments. Every thread told a survival story. Temperature regulation wasn't about layers. It was advanced biomechanical engineering. The Inuit didn't just wear clothes. They created living, breathing thermal management systems that could maintain body temperature in environments where modern survival gear would collapse. Animal hide wasn't just material. It was a sophisticated survival technology. Buffalo, deer, and seal skins weren't randomly chosen. Each hide was selected for specific properties: water resistance, thermal regulation, durability, flexibility. A single piece of clothing could be a life-saving mechanism. Layering was a complex mathematical equation. Each layer served a precise function. The innermost layer would manage moisture, the middle layer would provide insulation, the outer layer would protect against wind and water. This wasn't fashion. This was survival calculus. Waterproofing techniques went beyond modern understanding. Tribes like the Pacific Northwest could create clothing so water-resistant that modern Gore-Tex looks primitive. They would use specific animal fat treatments, precise hide preparation techniques that could repel water while maintaining breathability. Flexibility wasn't a design choice. It was a survival requirement. Clothing had to allow complete range of motion while providing maximum protection. Every seam, every cut, every material choice was about maintaining human mobility in the most challenging environments. Seasonal adaptation wasn't about changing wardrobes. It was about complete clothing transformation. A single set of clothing could be modified, repaired, and transformed to serve multiple purposes across different environmental conditions. Color and camouflage weren't aesthetic choices. They were advanced survival strategies. Clothing would be precisely colored to blend with specific environmental backgrounds, providing protection from both prey and potential threats. Material selection was a sophisticated science. Different animal hides weren't just about availability. They were chosen based on precise thermal properties, durability, weight, and flexibility. A caribou hide wasn't the same as a buffalo hide. Each material had a specific survival purpose. Footwear was pure survival engineering. Moccasins weren't just shoes. They were advanced biomechanical interfaces between human feet in diverse terrains. Precise material choices, intricate design patterns, specific construction techniques, all engineered for maximum mobility and protection. Decoration wasn't just art, it was communication technology. Specific patterns, colors, and designs could communicate tribal identity, personal achievements, spiritual connections. Clothing was a living, breathing communication system. Repair techniques were so advanced that a single piece of clothing could last years, sometimes decades. Patches weren't just fixes. They were sophisticated material integration techniques that could restore clothing to near original functionality. But here's the most critical understanding. Clothing wasn't about covering the body. It was about extending human survival capabilities. It was about creating a living, breathing interface between human physiology and the most challenging environmental conditions. Modern clothing gives you style. Native American clothing gave you survival. This wasn't just clothing. This was wearable survival technology. Native American survival wisdom isn't history. It's a living blueprint for modern resilience. These techniques transcend time, offering profound strategies for navigating today's complex world. From resource management to energy conservation, indigenous knowledge represents a sophisticated survival technology that modern society desperately needs. If you found this journey enlightening, smash that like button and subscribe to dive deeper into forgotten survival wisdom. Hit the notification bell to never miss these incredible insights that could literally save your life.